It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey everybody, welcome to the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey gang.
Holly Briggs.
Hello.
And Les Webster.
I am a ventriloquist.
That's better than being a dummy.
Oh my lord, and I thought the grapes were bad.
The grapes of wrath.
Grapes going bad is the start of a beautiful thing. Just remember that.
Oh.
Wow. Okay. How is everybody, I guess?
Great.
Alive.
No, grape.
Oh yeah.
Grape. I am grape.
Grape.
I'm kind of whiny myself.
Oh my gosh.
Little Annie. Aww.
This is just lovely.
Oh boy, this is going to be an interesting show. So what's been going on with you guys? What's been going on this past week?
Just brain explosion from the amount of comic book world craziness.
I don't know what you're talking about. What is this crazy enough you're talking about?
I'd like to say that when, like, news channels, like, you turn on the news to watch the weather, and they start talking about comic books, it's kind of like, I have to kind of say, am I dreaming? Is this an alternate world? Why are they talking about comics on large news channels? And then, and then they say it. Captain America.
Careful, don't spoil the show.
Hey, Wakka.
Before we go back to that thread, I have been, for a little while now, I have been working on rereading Terry Pratchett's Discworld books. And so this week I'm reading Interesting Times, which is the book in which Rincewind, who is like the worst wizard ever, travels to a distant land to fulfill a prophecy.
Woohoo.
Yep. Funny stuff.
The one that brings balance, huh?
Sort of, yes. Fortunately, this was written before that, and so no, but yeah.
Obviously. Les, what's been going on with you this week?
Well, I finished Honky Tonk Samurai by Joe R. Lansdale. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But like Holly, I've been taking in as much comic news as possible. It's unbelievable that it's hitting this proportion. But there are a lot of times that the news does exactly that. Goes after a story that would mean nothing to the normal world.
Mm-hmm. It's really exciting. I mean, regardless of what it's about or who it's about, what it comes back to is it's about comics, and it's pretty thrilling that we're getting airtime, on that kind of thing. I mean, it shows you how big it really has gotten, and I think the potential in the next 10, even 3 years, that it's definitely getting to a larger audience now. Just awesome.
Cool. I've been going back and pulling out some collections and checking things out. It's been a while since I've read. One of them, I know Les has it as well because we got ours at the same time. It's Undersea Agent, Gil Kane's beautiful art. You remember that, Les?
Oh, yes.
And I also pulled out Mars Patrol. I had not heard of this before. I don't remember the publisher. This was back in the 60s.
Was that not Dell? Was that Dell? Or
it may have been Dell. I think you're right. It was reprinted by Dark Horse several years ago, and I was surprised to find out when it's Mars Patrol that Mars was not meaning Mars as in the planet. It was an acronym meaning Marine Attack Rescue Service, and that was Wallace Wood's. At least 3 issues that he did the art. I don't remember who right now who did the writing, but more than likely it was him. But it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to go back to read some of that stuff. So I've been kind of going back, checking out the past. So we kind of hinted at it a little bit. In
Just a little.
Just a little. This episode's topic is about spoilers and how it affects fans and industry as in general. And how this came about was, of course, if y'all are tuned in to what's been going on recently, someone had taken images or taken pictures of pages from DC's Rebirth special and posted it on Reddit almost a full week before the book came out. And of course, some of the websites took off with that, saying, hey, look at just this. But hey, mind you, spoilers. And when all this broke, DC had lifted their embargo to some of the media, and so they started posting some of their news items, which were also spoilerific. And of course, now the events of the last few days regarding Captain America and what's happened in the first issue of the new series has been kind of spoiler, and that's had rather a negative response. I think that's a safe thing to say. When Nick Spencer gets death threats on Twitter, that's pretty bad. And we're not just talking about comics, although that's what brought this about this time. And I'll hand it off to you guys here in a minute. One of the things that kind of amazes me is being on social media the night of a show, airing a show. I mean, Sunday, about 9 o'clock Central Time, where we're recording or so, or maybe even 10 o'clock, you're seeing stuff referring to Game of Thrones, or it could be Walking Dead, or that kind of stuff. And you're like, oh my God, this happened. And everybody else is going, well, wait a minute, I hadn't watched it yet. And it's not just that. There's some blogs and some news websites who automatically post synopsis and reviews of episodes, and they hit the internet 2-3 minutes after the closing credits are over. And warning, spoilers. And it kind of boggles my mind. I mean, and I kind of want to get your guys' input into this. Les, what are your thoughts about all this?
Let's begin with the last topic you touched, the irresponsibility of people getting online to spoil it for everyone else. Granted, if it hits our wire at 10 o'clock or 10:02 in the evening, then the East Coast and the Central Time Zone have already seen it. And I think the only group that has not is the West Coast.
Exactly.
The Pacific. So they're stepping up and they're trying to ruin it. To me, they're ruining it by posting it. I don't see that it's of use to anybody. I kind of look at the comics the same way. For someone to post pictures from Rebirth and say, hey, this is coming, is not right. People will have an attitude of, if you don't want to know about it, don't read it. Well, don't post it. Just walk away from it. Reddit, I think, if they were the first ones to post all this stuff, they should be chastised heavily for what they did. Don't try to ruin this stuff for me. I heard about things about Captain America and about Rebirth. Some of it is interesting. Some of it I turn my nose, but I don't think it's proper. I don't want to know everything that's going to be coming out There are a lot of people that won't go see movie trailers because they want to see the movie and they don't want to be spoiled by the time they get to the theater itself. I don't think I'm on an island by myself, but I'll open it up to somebody else.
I totally understand where you're coming from, Les. I mean, I generally don't get to watch shows when they air because of my schedule, so there's nothing more irritating when you get on social media and, the first thing you see is someone posting, like you said, 30 seconds after the episode aired, and you're like, kidding me? So what I've learned, and I guess the opinion that I have gotten, is that if there is something that I really don't want to know about, I stay off social media. And I know that seems really drastic, and we shouldn't expect people to have to do that. But sadly, we live now in a world where people want things instantly, and they want to know. And there is not a lot of controlling it with the internet. That is one reason why I am so horrible at Twitter, is because half the time I can't even get myself to get on Twitter because I know that if I'm not caught up on every single movie, comic, and show that I'm currently into, then something will get ruined. And that's just how it is, sadly. So my thing is, I think people are going to eventually have to just accept it and say, look, you don't want to see spoilers, then you've got to stay off until you don't care anymore, or until you've read it or watched it or whatever. Because it's just, there's no way to control it. It's just like torrenting and, so many things. You can try to control it and do it as much as you can, but I don't think there's anything else they can do. So it's not right. It drives me batshit crazy, but, it's the internet. You can only patrol people so much, I don't know. It's frustrating.
I agree to a point. There's some of it you cannot control, but the websites, the news sites, they can control that. Do they really need to post reviews or synopsis or that kind of stuff? Do they really have to do it before it's even aired fully in the country? Let's talk about the fact that, most of the stuff I'm seeing is after a show's been here in a central time zone. So that means it's now airing in the mountain time zone, and it's going to be another hour before it hits West Coast. And yeah, if they happen to be on whatever social media platform they happen to be on, it's popping up saying, "Oh my God, did you see this?" Or now regarding personal accounts, yeah, there needs to be more responsibility, but there's nothing you can do about that. Other than just, with Twitter, you can mute people, but boy, that's
impossible.
That's going to be impossible.
That's impossible.
That's impossible, but you're right. You shouldn't have to stay off social media just because some people can't just keep it to themselves for a couple of hours and then go, "Hey, what'd you think?" Or wait till the next day and go, "Hey, look at that. What did you think about that episode?" Or "Hey, I saw that movie last night and this is what I thought. What did you think?" That kind of thing. And then the same thing with comics. Mike and I do our reviews. Some of the reviews we can actually do earlier if we wanted to. We choose to wait until the book's out there. That way readers can have their own chance to read it, or, sometime down the road, they're maybe interested in checking out that book, and maybe they can do a search, and hopefully they'll find our review, and hopefully we encourage them to see that, pick the book up or whatever. But we try not to do advanced reviews.
And even given that, we still try to avoid spoilers.
Yes,
as much
and
as
that's true. That's true. Exactly. Some of the publishers say, please don't try to spoil it, and that's like, well, that's not even on our conscience. We will never do that.
Mhm.
Because we're hoping to tease you and interest you enough to read it, not to be spoiled. Not that I'm trying to toot our own horn or pat ourselves on the back or anything, but that's just kind of the way we feel. I'm sure Mike will agree with me.
Absolutely.
So what's your thoughts, sir?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So, okay. So what we have here is it's one of those nasty little catch-22 things where we all really, and I'll use Game of Thrones as an example, even though I don't really watch Game of Thrones. A lot of people really love that show, and they get really excited about that show.
Mm-hmm.
And so being excited about that show and having this cool little thing that we've come up with in the last 10 years called social media, they have the opportunity to talk about what they get really excited about in like a practically real-time sense. I mean, they get to go out there and people can talk to other people and they can enjoy things together practically real time. And so the talking about it, that's the part that they love. They love the show and they go out and they want to talk about it. And I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to sit here and say that people shouldn't try to restrain themselves a little bit. But I think it's a lot to ask. I think it's a lot more to ask than most of us realize when we're thinking about it rationally or we're ticked off because somebody else has spoiled something for us. This is what this whole social media thing is for.
Mhm.
And you kind of can't have it both ways.
Right.
I mean, you either have it and you're going to run the risk that somebody who's really excited about something is going to say something that's going to spoil it for you, or you don't have it so that nobody ever talks to each other and there's no fun ever in the universe again. So, I mean, in a sense, you got to you just kind of got to decide either that you're just not going to let spoilers bother you or that you're going to just shut down for a night and not be involved in social media for a while. From my perspective, I'm the guy who I don't like movie theaters. I like movies. I don't like theaters. I don't like going and sitting in a room full of strangers in the dark. It just weirds me out. I have issues with crowds. So I've had to get used to not being too concerned about spoilers. This past weekend, I saw Force Awakens for the first time.
Wow.
You know what? What I knew about the movie didn't really change my opinion about it that much. I don't know. Maybe I've trained myself. Maybe I'm lucky. I don't know. But it's one of those things where if you want to have the conversation, you got to be prepared to have the conversation, and you can't always control when you have the conversation.
Good
Other
point.
people for it to be a conversation, other people get to have their say too. And you don't always get to be the one to start your conversation. Sometimes somebody else starts it. Somebody else brings something up. Somebody else mentions their show or your show, and they happen to be the same show. So at the risk of sounding a little harsh, people kind of just need to deal with it and
Right.
just figure out how to handle it for yourself. And don't let other people piss you off because they're talking about something you don't want them to talk about. That's childish, to say the least, if you really think about it. Right? Am I crazy?
No.
No, and that's what I was saying. Is my
Right.
opinion is then you just need to stay off
Agreed.
because that's what I do, And then if there's something where I'm like, okay, and with Rebirth, I'm guilty of I didn't care. I was fine with it. I didn't care either way. But then, like you said, there is stuff that I do care, and those nights I completely stay off,
Right.
and I can only blame myself if I see something if I get on.
Right. And that's your way of
It's a
coping with it.
choice.
You're
Yep.
dealing with it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying is find your way to deal with it. My way of dealing with it is I just don't care. I can enjoy something without I can enjoy a book if I know what the end is. I can enjoy a movie if I know what's going to happen in the last 10 minutes. You figure out how to watch it for something else. You can watch a movie not being all that concerned about the story being new the first time. You can watch a movie to enjoy the quality of the story. You can watch a movie just to enjoy the quality of the cinematography, which I'll tell you, Force Awakens looks pretty. If we want to talk about the story some other time, we can do that. But that's not to say it's horrible. But the deal is, you just kind of got to figure out how to handle it on your own. It's not something somebody can do for you. You have to know. You have to. I mean, if knowing the end of that particular episode of Game of Thrones is really going to affect your ability to enjoy that show, then get the hell off social media until you've watched it. You know.
Amen.
I mean, other people are doing it too. Other people shut down social media for the same reasons. And so, yeah, and you know what? Most of those posts will still be there when you get back. And then you can join in the conversation then. And a lot of these people love this stuff just as much as you do, and will be perfectly happy picking up the conversation 3 days later. They're good with it.
And quite frankly, in today's world, you want them to be talking on social media, because for some of these shows and different things, that's the only way that they keep running, is because there is that passion behind it. If you told everyone they had to shut up, then, you know, shows get saved that way. Sometimes comics I mean, there's the whole reason for social media is basically for them to be able to continue marketing and, you know, have fans push a lot of that stuff. So if we banned a lot of that, then I think it would bite us in the ass in a lot of other ways.
It would indeed.
The problem I have is the inaccuracy of some of the spoilers that people post. An example is the Captain America movie that's out right now. Somebody took a look at the trailer and posted it and said spoilers here, and they went through their opinions as to what was going to happen. The death of War Machine. And I'm going, really? You didn't really pay attention to the movie, or you obviously hadn't seen the movie, but to just sit there and go, I know that War Machine is going to die, is a stupid statement.
Yeah,
you
is.
have to be accurate.
No, you don't. You can just be stupid, and that's okay too. And people will stop listening to you, and then it won't be a problem anymore.
Well, that's my problem all the time. So
the world would be great if it wasn't for all the stupid people in it.
Oh no, just don't listen to me.
Yeah. Good luck with that one.
Right, and I mean, to an extent, you're kind of dealing with it in that you're not on Twitter, and that's okay. I mean, we poke fun at you a little bit about it, but we're not going to force you onto Twitter, man. You know, and that's where a lot of this stuff comes up and happens.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter is, and that's because of the real time aspects of it. People see your stuff immediately, and that's not what everybody wants. Mm-hmm. And so if that's not what you want, then you're doing the right thing by not doing that. You know.
Yeah.
My name is Les Webster, and I don't have a Twitter account.
Right. Hi,
like
Les.
Yes, like an AA meeting.
Yep.
That's okay.
It's okay.
I have one, but I don't.
We still love you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Drop a 5 in the kitty on the way out.
There you go.
Light a candle.
Especially for all that coffee you're drinking. Holy cow. Anyway.
The donuts.
Sorry, more AA jokes. That's probably not a good place to go. But anyway, too late.
No.
Wow. Okay. You brought up a valid point about all this talk, whether it's for the movies or shows or books, are good publicity for whatever product it is. But some of that passion, and we've seen it just in the last couple of days regarding the Captain America thing. This whole thing has blown my mind. And the fact is as a society, especially in the world of social media, I remember posting a meme a while back on Facebook, and Les and Mike, you might remember seeing this because it's been a while. The thing was, and I don't remember, it was a politician, but it says, "Didn't read the article. Here's my thoughts anyway." If you're on Facebook, you see that a lot. You see a news post pop up. Here's the art. Here's the headline, and of course, it's phrased in such a way that generates a response. Now, if you actually read the article, it's not as bad, or if you have questions, well, you know what? If you're not reading the article, then some of your questions could have been answered if you'd read the article. But that's kind of the thing with the cap, because everybody just sees, oh, I'm not going to say what happened with the cap issue, even though it has been spoiled. Hello. But everybody responds to it in a negative fashion, and they say, well, this is why I have a problem with it. And some of the details that they're saying why it's so a bad thing, I'm like, you're not accurate, because what you're basing it on is the information regarding the movies. And I said this on one of my comments, because I talked about this on Facebook. Is like, there's a lot more information people don't know. They're just basing on what the little they do know, and it kind of blows my mind sometimes how people just automatically respond without knowing all the facts. And and this has been going on before social media. I mean, but
It just took longer for it to get to us.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think that the people that are that negative and putting out, either false information or misunderstood information, like you said, they're just, most of those people are just wanting a rise or something. And the best thing to do is ignore them, because then they don't get what they want, and what they want is attention. And that's the same thing with all these people on Twitter. I mean, and same thing with the people that are assholes that will actually post something and say, hey, so I'm going to post this because I want to spoil it for everyone. And there's people that do that, and they're shitty. But the best thing you can do is ignore them, because getting in a fight with them or, wasting your energy on it, only you lose in the end. The only way for them to lose is if you, exactly. So I think that's the big thing, is you want to spend as little energy as possible on it.
Right. If they're doing stuff like that consistently and you don't want to see that, unfollow their butts.
Yep.
Don't pay any attention to them. That is your right. You don't have to justify yourself to anybody on that either.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Agreed.
It was funny because I'm following Ed Brubaker on Twitter, and he posted something today. He says now that he's getting crap about it, and he says, I hadn't written a superhero comic book in 5 years. or he's been off that book for 5 years. He may have done a little bit more superheroes after that, but not much. He's definitely not writing it now. And now he's getting a lot of blowback because of this. I'm like, oh my God, what?
People are just, they're bored, they have too much time on their hands, and unfortunately, the biggest thing with social media is they have an audience, whether,
for better or for worse.
Exactly. So we're stuck with just seeing their crap unless you block them or, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, the great thing about freedom is that it applies to everybody.
Yep, even the idiots.
The terrible thing about freedom is that it applies to everybody.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Mark Twain said that. No, not really. I was internet meme joke.
Use the Force, Harry. Sign Gandalf.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything anybody else wants to add before we move on to this week's topics?
This week's picks.
That's it. Yeah, it's been a rough day, guys. I'm sorry.
Them too.
I'm out. I'm done.
I think we're all done with this.
Brain dead. Yep.
I think we've spoiled that one enough.
Hey! Wacka, wacka, wacka.
Oh, no.
Alrighty, so when we come back, we'll do this week's picks. this week's picks, and leading off is Mikey.
I am leading off, and I've got a couple of picks. My first one is a title called Chum. This is a Comics Tribe book, and issue 2 of 3 is coming out this week. It is by Ryan Lindsay and Sammy Cavella, and it is what you might call a surf noir. It is a very beautifully drawn but relatively brutal crime story, noir-type crime story set on an island. So it's a little bit unique based on that, and it's a really fun read. The first issue is a really fun read. It really is it's really fun. It's really brutal.
Agreed.
Very, very nice stuff. I like it. And issue 2 comes out this week. My second pick is, I'm going to go ahead and plug Army of Darkness, Furious Road. This is number 4 is coming out this week, and it is part of a 6-issue series. It is written by Nancy A. Collins and drawn by Kuber Ball, with very nice covers by Gabriel Hardman. And it is, Ash is back, and it is basically the end of the world, the actual real normal world at this point. And he has been teamed up by a priest. A priest has kind of found him, mainly because they were looking for the Necronomicon. And among the priest's group of friends are the Frankenstein monster and the daughter of Dracula and a werewolf biker gang. And the priest has set up kind of a safe haven, and he's brought Ash and the Necronomicon there, and they're doing everything they can to stop the general and basically stop the end of the world. And it's just crazy enough to work, and I mean that in the best possible way, not in the worst possible way. It's out there, but it's still got enough really cool characterization to make for a good story. And it's one of those. I won't say that none of the Ash stuff, none of the Army of Darkness, Evil Dead stuff has been story driven, but this is definitely one of the more story driven incarnations of the Army of Darkness stuff. So I definitely think it should be picked up.
Do they carry some of the humor?
Oh yeah.
from
Yeah.
the
They
movies?
have to. You have to.
Okay.
It would have to. I wouldn't honestly. I wouldn't recommend it if they didn't. It wouldn't be a good Army of Darkness story if they didn't.
It wouldn't be Ash, yeah.
Right. And so yeah, it's there. It gets serious at times, but Ash is still Ash. I mean, come on.
Woohoo!
Yep.
Cool.
It works.
I've actually picked a couple of new titles that kind of caught my interest. One is from Aftershock Comics. It's Revisionist, written by Frank Barbieri, which he's an awesome writer. And the premise is Revisionist is a time-traveling assassin, and he's been given an assignment to repair the timeline, but at the same time he's having to deal with things that have happened in his own past. So I know Mikey's out already because it's time traveling, but
Not necessarily. It can be. It depends on how well done it is, but I haven't seen
this
it yet, so.
yeah, this sounds rather interesting, and with the writing, I definitely think it has potential. My second one is Death Force from Zenscope, and the premise is a cop who's been beat up, left for dead, but he's given a chance to gain power, gain super abilities, and get revenge, but all he has to do is basically give up his soul. And we've heard versions of this before, but I don't know. There's something about this that has me intrigued, so I'm definitely going to check it out. And I'm going to do one other. A collection called Legends, and it's the 30th anniversary edition, which blows my mind, from DC Comics. Legends was a miniseries that came out a short period after the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. Such a great story. At a time where people were questioning the need for heroes, which kind of is happening right now too, this story comes about, and Man, it was so good. And it actually includes the formation of the Justice League from the mid late 80s with the Wahaha version, and it actually has the creation of the Suicide Squad, of the villain version of the Suicide Squad, not the original version from the 60s. So the ones that are more like the versions that we've seen the last few years, and of course the version we're about to see in the theaters here in another couple of months. So those are my picks. Holly, what do you have?
Sounds good. I have got the extremely exciting return for a new arc in Paper Girls, number 6. And that's Brian K. Vaughan is doing that. And so exciting because this is the new start or new storyline. And they left it at number 5. They left it at a huge cliffhanger, so I won't spoil anything. But I'm stoked. If you've not checked out Paper Girls, you need to pick up the first trade and catch up now because you won't regret it.
Here.
Yes, Les knows all about that Paper Girls life. And yeah.
Wow.
Quizzical look on this end.
That's what you get for chiming in on her. Sheesh.
Oh goodness. It's getting late. My second pick is Killbox number 2, and that is by American Gothic Press. And 1 was awesome. People that know me, I generally don't read a ton of black and white comics, but this is pretty amazing. I've got to give it to the artist, Nathan Gooden. It's really fantastic. So if black and white scares you at all, this is one that it wouldn't at all. And the story, even if it was bad, the story would carry it, but it's not. It's all great. So the last issue, number 1, they kind of set up the scene, and it's about a kill box, an area where people are all killing for money, and it's kind of a sport, and people are betting on them and whatnot. And so the second issue is going to actually show a little bit more of, well, we hope, of death, more deaths from the different opponents and people moving on up, and maybe a little bit more behind the scenes of the people that are betting and the whole huge mastermind kind of behind it. So it'll be exciting. The last issue, what I distinctly remember is an incredible spread where they talked about there's a time frame, and every day you can only kill people between, I don't remember what it was, but it was like between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. or something. And so he gets a hold of a guy, and then the clock strikes 10 o'clock, and he's like, oh, well, shit, I can't kill you tonight because I won't get credit for you. And then it just cuts off. So you're like, well, crap, what are you going to do with him? What's going on, So this should be a really, really good read. And it's number 2, so jump on. Your shop should have 1. So jump on before it's too late. Les, what do you have?
Before I start, I do have a question for Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
The Legends.
Yes.
Who is the writer on that?
John Ostrander, and I think John Byrne co-wrote it. I know he did the art.
Okay, yes, I remember those issues, and that was a good series. I'm glad you brought that up. As far as my picks go, saving the last for last, I'm looking at Aftershock Comics issue 3 of Roughriders. The creators, Adam Glass and Pat Olive, give you a story where Teddy Roosevelt and his Roughriders are trying to uncover the true enemy that sank the USS Maine before war breaks out. And according to their write-up, it states one member, quote, is about to take a dirt nap for good, unquote. So this should be interesting as to who they want to snuff in this book.
As opposed to a temporary dirt nap?
Yep.
I don't know. Nobody is killed in the comics, you know that.
Not forever.
I thought it was a legitimate question, Mike, but...
Take a hike. Second choice I have.
Hey, you were quoting it, dude. We're not blaming you.
Okay. As long as we know.
Totally.
Dynamite Entertainment is giving a new book by Matt Wagner, and Wagner is doing the writing and art on this. This is the first book for Dynamite that he has done, both, and the name of the book is The Shadow, The Death of Margo Lane. Margo, if you recall, is his paramour, his go-to girl in their situations. And obviously, looking at the title, quoting Marvel Comics, enough said.
Spoiler.
I think putting it in the title pretty much writes off spoilers.
Oh, okay.
I think. I could be wrong.
Good choices all around. Anything else before we sign off tonight?
I would like to make a shout out to, I never read this, and don't ask me why I read it, but there was a #1, and it was like a week or two ago, maybe somebody else knows, of Deadpool, a series they're doing that's like something having to do with magic, anybody?
Last Days of Magic.
Yes. And I read that, like I said, don't ask me why. I'm not a big Deadpool person, but I read it just on a whim, and I will say it confused the heck out of me because I don't know what's going on in that world at all, but it was so cool because Ben Franklin was in it. And that just like blew my mind that ghost or magic version of Ben Franklin was in it, and it sold me. So if you're interested in meeting an interesting version of Ben Franklin, you should pick that up.
I think it ties into the Doctor Strange series.
It does.
Yeah, because the last issue said something about Last Days of Magic, so something's going on there.
It does. It didn't give me enough information to wrap my entire brain around it, but it seemed like it was pretty high concept to just jump into, but I had Ben Franklin on the cover, and I was like, what the heck is this? So I had to try it.
Because when I think of magic, I think of Deadpool. Exactly.
And Ben Franklin, for that matter.
Yeah. They're cousins, right?
It's the Patty Duke Show. Anything else?
I would like to congratulate DC on their launch of Rebirth.
Yes.
I think this is going to be major for them, and I know they're counting on it to redo their universe, but I think that they've handled it well, and the new Rebirth titles will be beginning next week. And I believe there are 21 books in the Rebirth titles, setting you up for the various runs of different issues.
The feedback from what I've been seeing on, once again, social media has been overwhelmingly positive, and I enjoyed it myself. I thought it was a good read, and it's cool. I'm excited to see what's coming down the road for them. So yes.
Super exciting.
Mike?
Yes?
Do you have anything?
Not other than the usual.
Okay. Go ahead if you want to.
Oh, I get to do it now? Okay, well,
Yeah,
all right.
If you want to, whatever.
No, I'm good. The usual usually consists of us throwing a great thanks to Manny the Martyr for the music.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Which never fails to get stuck in my head when I'm editing the show. Never fails ever. I'm gonna get sick of it at some point, but not for a long time because it's awesome stuff. And also we'll throw the usual shout out to Podern Family for spreading the word about us. Actually, it was kind of funny. I had a bit of an exchange with the guys over at the Drunken Dork podcast just this afternoon. Yeah, Holly was there for that. But yeah, so we, again, as always, we appreciate it, guys, and we will do our best to keep pumping out the word about your shows as much as you pump out the word about ours.
Yes, thank you, guys. We love y'all very much. Thank y'all for the support. And, of course, we can't do this without you, the listeners. We appreciate you taking the time to download these episodes and listening to them. We do appreciate it. We're always open for your feedback please contact us and let us know what you think. You can always send us a quick email at email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, or you can go to the website www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net and send us a message through our Contact Us page. We are also on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. We are also on Twitter, @FellowshipGeeks. The rest of us are on Twitter, other than Les, as we have already mentioned several times in the past.
And that's okay.
And that's fine. That's fine. It's not a big deal. Mike, you can reach through @MikeyGeek. Holly is @HollyBlake with 3 E's. And I'm @TomTCGeek.
Y'all should be proud of me. I have been twittering. That's
I
word.
Ooh.
I have noticed that. That's awesome. That's
I'm
awesome.
making an effort
Cool.
because I'm caught up on most of my shows, so I can live in the land of spoilers.
It definitely takes a little bit because that was something I've had my account for I don't know about a couple of years now, but I really hadn't done anything until the last 6 months or so. So I've been trying to be a lot more active, and
It's fun in its own way.
it's fun, but it can be a lot of fun, but it can be kind of intimidating when everybody else is posting stuff and you're going, okay, or at least it is to me. I don't know about y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure.
So, any other final shout-outs or anything before we sign off?
Find us on iTunes. Find us on Google Play. Find us on Stitcher. Tell them how much you love us.
Exactly.
Tell your friends how much you love us.
All the links except for to iTunes are on our website. We have up there on the top of each page, so please go there and click and favorite us there, and definitely reviews would be appreciated. Until next time, guys, thank you once again for downloading and listening to us. And until then, read more comics and support your local stores. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @FellowshipGeeks. Until next time,